moving right along with the rest of the show and into the next topic, the kickoff rule. We just got into talking about more changes coming into the NFL. This is one change that already has been solidified. We will see it in 2024, and there's still a lot of unknowns how special teams coordinators will maneuver around this, how they'll try to place it into their benefit now with the special teams being more important than ever in recent seasons. How does this affect everybody on the special teams team? Well, other than the cover guys, the returners, and really the main point of emphasis on this entire topic, the kickers are really ones that could be affected greatly in how teams, distribute them on kickoffs, especially with this new format being implemented by the NFL. The NFL obviously wants more returns, so they've based this new kickoff format on the current one that the XFL uses. A lot has been taken from the XFL, UFL, and this is another example of that. And how the XFL does it with more action now, it means for a lot more live action for everybody to see, and also kickers too. When you're talking about the new kickoff format, nobody can really move until I want to say the ball is kicked by the kicker and received by the opposing team. That's when everybody can move, and obviously by that being the case, it makes it more likely that the kickers will get involved more in these plays because there will be more set blocks. We're obviously going to see more returns and more action out of that, so the kickers will be in the line of fire, so to say, more often than not. And how does that affect everybody else on special teams? Coaches, do you want your kicker out there trying to make a tackle, a last-ditch tackle when the returner has gone past everybody? Are you confident in having Justin Tucker, Harrison Butker, Chris Boswell back there to make the last-ditch tackle? Probably most people would say not. And even so, if they do make a tackle, are they going to get hurt off of that? And then, it affects how you maneuver through field goals. Do you have another backup kicker active that day? A lot of factors come into this, and the Kansas City Chiefs special teams coach, Dave Taub, talked about it last Thursday in a press conference during OTAs, and really mentioned, his biggest issue with all of this and what he's sort of fearing with this, just on the topic of talking about kickers being more involved in these tackles. When he mentioned it, he emphasized how, there's a bigger impact on them in some areas where they're not so used to, being involved in kickoffs. Everything used to just go through a touchback, and it was just a tradition more so of an actual play. Now, he talked about it and how they might impact the game now by saying, as you see there on your screen, if you watch the XFL, we watched every play. I bet kickers were involved in probably at least 25 to 40% of the tackles, either trying to make a guy bounce back, or making the tackle itself, or just missing the tackle overall. He didn't even mention the possibility of them making a tackle, maybe the returner trying to truck them or lowering the shoulder. Then you have an injured kicker, maybe even miss the tackle, and you let up a touchdown, and now you have no kicker the rest of the game. That's really the biggest issue with all of this. But it is funny how special teams coach Dave Taub for the Chiefs mentioned it when he has one of the biggest weapons to sort of counteract this issue that now the regular sort of kickers, the human kickers, can sort of have to deal with. It is a greater risk of injury, obviously, to Harrison Butker, so he's worried about that. But like I mentioned, they find themselves in a very fortunate situation where they could deploy their safety, Justin Reed, out there. If you guys remember last season, Harrison Butker got injured for a good amount of games, wasn't able to play at all in some of these games, so they needed somebody out there to kick extra points or field goals, so they had Justin Reed do it. Their starting safety. He was also a kicker, or the backup kicker, during his time at USC, so it is something he's very used to. He did very well. I'll give him credit for that. Surprised me, definitely, for how well he did. So now, when you have such a weapon like that, you could definitely deploy him out there and have him do the kickoffs, because you're not really aiming for something so small and precise like the field goal obviously actually is. You obviously have to keep it in bounds, or else the team gets the ball at the 40-yard line, but you probably have a good amount of trust in Justin Reed to kick it down there, have it land in the landing area, or just kick it through the end zone for a touchback, to not only go through the process that way and not have any risk from that, but also if it does fall into the hands of the returners, Justin Reed is very well equipped to go out there and make a tackle, track down somebody, and just be part of that play. A lot more physical of a play that maybe the typical kicker obviously can't do over and over again, multiple times in a game, and obviously multiple times in a season. The Chiefs have a great weapon to sort of counteract that problem, but Dave Taub was the one to really bring it up and kind of create headlines of it this way. It'll be interesting to see how other teams do it. How do they try to protect their kickers from really getting hurt and being involved in too much of these plays, and it just really raises the question now: do most people that now really know more about the kickoff rule, do we like that there's more tinkering, that there's more of a chess game going on in special teams? Some people might not like it. Some people might not like the idea of kickers being involved more now. How the NFL is changing the game too much, that they just need to go back to old school football. Well, I'm sort of on the opposite. I think this is even better for the NFL and especially for special teams, just because it is a part of the game where you want to see some strategy be put into it to have it be an advantage sometimes and really decide games overall, because really the last few seasons it's been touchback, 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 fair catch. Nothing really happens from that play. Of course, you don't want high-speed collisions more often than not, and I think they've gotten rid of that now with this new kickoff rule. But at the same time, you want to see special teams coaches be special teams coaches and coach their players in these areas where if you really do your job and really do your homework to try and execute on special teams, it can be a deciding factor that determines the outcomes of some games. And I think that just makes it even more impressive, more fun to have now special teams be a crucial factor in how well your team does this season. There's going to be a lot more kickoff returns, so if you're good at it and if you're good at covering them and defending against them or executing to score, you could score 14 points from that, really put the offense in a bad starting spot or give your offense a better starting spot overall. That's more game plan, more strategy, more of that chess match, like I mentioned, that I only think increases the the intrigue factor of these games now, where you have another aspect of the game that is going to be pivotal in deciding a lot of these games, where if you have a better offense in the other team, or if your defense is just lights out, you sort of know where the game's going to go. But special teams can really not only create more excitement, but really swing the momentum. If somebody is really dominating, your offense can't get anything going, but then boom, out of nowhere, somebody returns a kick and you're right back into it. It revives the entire stadium, and now it's almost like a new game. I love that for the NFL, and I think that, one, it sucks for unathletic kickers that might not love trying to tackle somebody running at them at 20, 15 miles per hour, one-on-one in the open field, but that's just part of the game. If the NFL or some teams, aren't equipped to do that, go out and try and find better players to do that, and I think that also adds another aspect of excitement where you might find some hidden gems now in special teams when you have guys now shining on that aspect of football and really, getting discovered now through special teams. And really returners aren't highlighted as the most important players in the game. Usually it goes to quarterbacks, wide receivers, and stuff like that. Now I think you have the opportunity for special teams players to really excel on that side of the football and be named MVPs maybe of some games. I don't think that's too far out of the realm of possibility. I like this. This is one of the nicest changes I've seen to the NFL. Obviously, I hope that it all, pans out well and it is all executed well, and it does create all this excitement that I'm sort of hyping up. But I think it's on the right track of doing so. Dave Taub sort of pointed it out to it, but he is coaching one of the guys that could be a great weapon to counteract that, and I'm interested to see how they do it. How good are the Chiefs on special teams now that they have Justin Reed able to do that, and how well they defend it. And I also want to see how bad other teams are at doing it and how that affects their season and how that affects their game plan. I think it's very interesting now what the NFL is doing. This is definitely one of the changes I think that can fall in the category of a good change, a positive change to make the game even better. But in saying that, that'll be it on that topic. We have one more thing to cover on today's show, so stick around, and when we return, we'll be talking about the Bears being selected as this year's Hard Knocks team to be featured in the training camp edition of the show. Why did they get selected, and is this a good choice? from my point of view. I'll let you guys know in just a few seconds. We'll be right back.